I just want to go over some like basic guard sweeps today. The first one is very basic. It's the scissor sweep. So after I pull you down here and you start coming up, I'm going to kind of slide into this scissor position. My bottom leg that opens goes to the mat and hugs the knee. So I'm kind of trapping / blocking the knee with my bottom leg. The top leg, you can go as far as horizontal. I like to keep more of this like knee shield, 45 or seatbelt kind of position. Allows me to appropriate the range that or however much I allow him to come in on me. So I like to keep it here at least until I'm gonna sweep. Now, as I open my guard and as Mike is going up, I want to make sure that I get a collar tie with the side that's going to be the seat belt, the top. And then I want to try and get this tricep control with the other. Okay, so I have a collar tie and I have a tricep tie. I have a leg on the mat and I have a leg across the chest. Now, this is not when I go for this scissor sweep unless I'm just super strong, which maybe I am, but I want to be efficient, right? So the time that I go for this scissor sweep is when Mike is coming in on me, like he's driving into me. So my leg is now loaded into my hip and I'm able to just look over my shoulder and kind of pull my head away as I scissor my legs that way. And I come on top. One of the key details of this transition, like as I'm sweeping, is I want to keep this scissor pressure from this knee shield on Mike's chest as he falls. So as I get the sweep over, I don't want to just release it here because then it's a scramble. So as I'm sweeping this, I want to keep this pressure down on the chest and slide into mount. So I have my guard, I pull Mike in as he comes up, I sit into my scissor position, I go down, he drives in, I look away, and I get into mount. Like a reverse scissor, lat sweep, I don't know what it's called, I just like to do it a lot. So again, I have this scissor sweep going, and you notice the scissor, so you sit back hard, right? So as you sit back, I come up with you and I grab your lat. And so I want to bring your posture into my shoulder and I'm gonna shoot my hips this way. Notice that this foot is hooking your hip.
Dragging that with the hip.
Yeah, and so now as I sit here, as I continue to sit, you just kind of roll off of that. But I have to off balance and get underneath those hips in order to do that. So this is where the concept of like chaining comes from. So I go sit back here, so you want to sit up with me.
Oh, that's right.
Sit up with me, you dip the lat,
Just
and now
post
you're
with the right hand like this.
Yeah, and now draw like this kind of U with your hip as you pull through. Yes. And as they like go to start passing me, I'll get this.
Yeah.
See how it's hooked there?
Yeah.
And I'm able to come up on top. So the first two with the scissor and the kind of reverse scissor, I like those two as a chain together because I feel like they kind of flow from one to the other. So if I'm like in this guard and I start going for this, well, Mike starts shutting down and putting a lot of weight this way so I can't get it. Well, that just gives me the other side, scissor sweep, and vice versa. So that's one of the ways that I kind of chain together guard sweeps to get me into a better position. So a hip bump sweep is when I pull Mike down, he sits up high, and he has his posture here. Okay, because his like posture is completely upright and he's over his hips, over his feet, I'm able to sit up into his lap. So as he sits up from me pulling him down, I'm riding up with him. Okay, notice as I ride up into his hips, I open my guard and I'm kind of one way, almost like I would punch him across the jaw with my bicep this way, right? So instead of punching him across the jaw, I'm gonna go over the shoulder and I'm gonna kind of try and trap at the shoulder. So notice that I'm hugging the shoulder. I'm not down here at the arm. If I'm down here at the arm, he can get his elbow out. So I'm trying to control the shoulder and I'm in his hips. Now what I'm gonna do from here is I'm gonna bump my hips. There's space here. I'm bumping my hip into his abdomen and I'm going to look behind me and circle. So it's a bump. So I got Mike down. As he comes up, I drive up with him. I let him pull me up. I sit into his lap. I go across his shoulder. I bump my hip into his abdomen. I look behind me and I circle and to mount. And that is a hip bump sweep mat here. So with a partner, you just kind of open your legs, both feet on the floor. I come up here and I'm gonna hip bump in, lay down, pull. And you can just do that. Okay. So it's like a, kind of like a technical stand up or like a Turkish get up. That's what I'm thinking of. So my hand comes out, I'm going over the shoulder to cover. I'm planting my feet and I'm driving my hip. And as I'm like controlling the shoulder. From that hip bump position, so as I come up, I don't feel like I can get this guillotine, but I feel like I can get this underhook. So I get this underhook and I'm going to look over my rear shoulder and I'm just kind of gonna turn over into this mount position. Now once I get to this position, there's a lot of mean things I can do. I can lock up this grip and you notice his shoulders are already in a really bad way. His posture's out of alignment and I can like finish that right there if I wrap up my grip and I kind of pull it in. But more so,
Just do an S grip and kind of.
and I'm like pulling your shoulders back in together in a really compromised position. So it's really uncomfortable, but at the very least I can sweep.
Yeah.
Right? So it comes from, I'm going for that hip bump, so he pulls up. I don't feel like I got the hip bump, so I wrap around to this. And I sweep. Now once I'm there, I can go into mount. I would be very cautious about keeping the 100% grip because you can hurt your partner's shoulders, but it's a very effective kind of sweep option, especially if you don't feel like you got the guillotine and you don't feel like you got the hip bump. I'm shooting over the neck and under to get that underhook. And then I'm just kind of looking over. So from here, I'm just looking over and taking over my shoulder to get that sweep. So here I pull down, hip bump, I control the shoulder, I gather the wrist, I come off into side control. I want to pull his shoulder off the mat, step over his head, and I'm going to finish this Kimura right there. So I'm locking up the wrist here, I'm pulling his shoulder out of socket this way, and then I'm just turning my body that way. I don't want to do it because it's a really tight lock. You got to be very careful with your partners when you're finishing Kimura. But it's a really good attack progression, and it shows that you shouldn't just give up the grips or the controls that you have after the sweep is done.